Kelsey. I'm in my kitchen today, and before I say anything else, I want to make sure you can hear me. So let me know. Awesome. Okay, great. So I'm Kelsey. I am a nutritional therapist. I am a paleo chef and baker, and I am also the author of the new cookbook, Paleo Sweets. And you are here with me today in my kitchen, and we're going to be preparing one of my favorite and one of the easiest recipes from this cookbook. We're going to be making flourless fudge brownie bites. These are super quick to put together, and they're really great if you have a party or a potluck to go to, because one batch makes about 16 little flourless fudge brownie bites, so they're great to share. So I'm just going to open the cookbook up. Hi, thank you for the love. Yeah, so we'll get started. And one thing that I love about this recipe, super simple, only 6 ingredients, and they're flourless because they're made out of almond butter. So I went ahead and I chose a crunchy almond butter today because I want a little bit of texture. You can switch it up a little bit. If you're not doing strict paleo, you can always use peanut butter, but because we do paleo here, I'm sticking with almond butter. You can also try homemade walnut butter. That would be super delicious. But today, crunchy almond butter it is. So I'm going to measure about a cup of this into my mixing bowl. Just pour it right in there. And you'll notice too, I'm going to use the silver metal measuring cup. This is a dry measuring cup. The difference between a dry measuring cup and a liquid measuring cup is just a little bit, but can make a difference when you're baking. So I'm going to go ahead, spoon that on in. All right. And then, next, I have 3/4 of a cup plus 2 tablespoons pure maple syrup. So I want to make sure that we know the difference between pancake syrup, which is just refined colored corn syrup, and pure maple syrup, which is sap from a tree. So either choose grade A or grade B pure maple syrup, and forget the processed stuff. And believe it or not, maple syrup actually has less sugar per tablespoon than honey, so it can be a really great alternative for sweetening up coffee or tea, and it pairs really well with coffee and chocolate. So because we're making brownies, we're using maple syrup. I'll go ahead and pour that in. All right, let's see. What's next? Next, we have some baking powder. Baking powder is going to help kind of bring the recipe together, give it a little bit more fluff than it would have otherwise. There we go. Another great thing about this recipe is you're just throwing everything into one bowl, so you don't have to dirty up too many dishes. It's pretty easy, one and done. All right, we have our maple syrup, our baking powder. Time for some sea salt. So I recommend sea salt in the cookbook. I'm actually using pink Himalayan salt. Both of these salts are really great options because they're high in a lot of other minerals besides just sodium. So they're nice and balanced and a lot better for you. They're not going to lead to the same kind of bloating that a refined or iodized salt would. 1/4 teaspoon in there. All right. Finally, of course, brownies, chocolate. We're going to use cocoa powder. So you don't need to worry about using raw cacao powder or anything too fancy because we're going to be baking with it. It's going to get cooked out anyway. So I'm going to measure about 3, don't mind my little noises. We have 1/4 cup, and then we have 1/2 cup. So we're adding 3/4 cup cocoa powder, like so. And then last but certainly not least, one of the secret ingredients in every dessert, or almost every dessert, is going to be vanilla extract. Vanilla is really great for enhancing the sweet flavor in the dessert. It adds a little bit of depth to it, so really nice. We're going to be throwing a tablespoon of that in there. And there we go. So I'm going to trade out my scraper for a wooden spoon. And you'll want to use a wooden spoon or something that's a little bit more sturdy for stirring up this recipe because the almond butter gets real thick. So we're just going to start to stir, mix it all together. Stir, stir, stir. And be gentle when you're working with cocoa powder. You can see it's kind of powdery, right? And if you stir too aggressively, you're going to get a big cloud of cocoa. We don't want that. So you'll start to see all the ingredients come together, and at first everything is going to seem kind of liquidy, but as you get the dry ingredient, the cacao powder or cocoa powder mixed in there, you'll see it start to thicken up. And I should mention as I'm mixing this that my oven is preheated to 325 degrees, and I have a baking dish here that I'll show you in just a second. That's an 8x8 glass baking dish lined with parchment paper. All right, this is looking good. If you don't have time to bake this, you can always just pop it into ice cube molds and then put it in the freezer, and then you have almond butter fudge bites. But I like them baked. I like to serve little brownies. I think it's also really fun when you can impress your friends and family by showing up with an amazing treat that's actually healthy. All right, so this is nice and mixed up. You can see pretty thick and delicious. But again, super simple. It's coming together with just 6 ingredients. So I have my 8x8 baking dish lined with parchment paper. The parchment doesn't stay in there very well until we get the batter in, so it's going to be a little crinkly. All right, start again with the same spoon. You want it to be nice and strong. I'm going to drop this batter into the center. Look at that. Now the parchment paper is sinking down. And there we go. I want to get every last bite, though it is okay, and I totally support you in leaving just a little bit in the bowl, you know, for snacking, right? It's like chef's payment. All right, so I'm going to use my scraper now. Set the bowl aside, scrape this off, and now we're just going to get a little bit artistic. Using our wooden spoon, you want to kind of hold the parchment paper in place because it's a thicker batter. It's not going to spread on its own very easily. So I'm holding the parchment in place, and I'm just going to kind of spread it to fit. Just like so. And even though we have baking powder in here, it's not going to rise and get super fluffy, and it will kind of hold the shape of whatever you're spreading it into. So you can make cool swirls if you want to, or try to make it nice and smooth and even, if that's what you prefer. You want it to get all the way to the edges, but you want it to be kind of an even layer. It'll even itself out just a little bit, but it's not going to change shape too much. All right. So we have that spread. It's nice and even. Again, save this one for yourself for later. But you can see it's yeah, it's kind of fitted to the pan. Pretty easy. I mean, how many minutes has this taken us? Like 3. So I'm going to turn around and pop this in the oven. Like so. Boom, boom. So I want you to set your timer for 60 minutes or 1 hour. But it may take up to 70 minutes to really bake all the way through. So you'll know the brownies are done when you take a toothpick, stick it in the center, pull it out, and it comes out mostly clean. There's still going to be maybe a little bit of chocolate moist beautifulness on there, but you don't want it to be too battery. So just the magic of TV. Ooh. What do we have here? Oh, look, a whole hour has already passed. And we have our brownies ready to go. So what I've done is I actually baked these earlier. I'm going to let you in on the secret. So I baked them earlier so that I'd be able to show you guys how I like to unwrap them and cut them up and then serve them. So you're going to pull the brownies out of the oven when they're done. You'll let them cool in the pan just for a second so they kind of start to come together. And then you'll pop them out in the parchment paper onto a cooling rack. You'll leave them here until they're fully cooled because they are kind of dense and chewy. If we try to cut them up too early, they're just going to kind of mush. So these have been setting out for a couple hours. And I'm going to take a nice sharp chef's knife. First I'm going to go ahead and gently peel off the parchment paper. And there we go. Got good stuff. We have a hunk of chocolate. Who can argue with that? So I'm going to take my knife and I want to cut these into 16 pieces. So starting vertically, I'm just going to cut. You want to come in at kind of an angle and just watch as you're cutting that you're not breaking off too many edges unless you want to eat those too. That's fine. So I'm going to make another cut down the center. And then a third cut. So I have 4 long brownie bars. This could just be 4 servings if that's what you want. Or we're going to come along and do the same thing on the other side. Make 4, so you want to be kind of watch your fingers, but hold these strips in place. Careful, careful. Another one down the center. And then a third one. So again, these are really great, especially for like a potluck or if there's going to be a spread of several different types of desserts and treats that are out, because they do cut up into nice little bite-sized pieces so everyone can have a little taste, and then you can move on and also have more of whatever else is available. I'm going to go ahead and use this plate. It's nice and pretty and shows off the chocolates. We'll just arrange these, make them look nice. We have corner pieces for anybody who likes an edge piece. We'll put those around the edges, like so. Just there in the center. All right. This is gonna be good. It's actually a friend's birthday later tonight, so I'm really excited about getting to share these with her. She doesn't live here, she lives in across the country, but she always sees my pictures of food that I post on Instagram and Facebook, and she's really excited to get a chance to try these. So I also want to let you know, like, this recipe is really versatile, so if you or someone you love and want to share these with has a nut allergy, you can always try sunflower seed butter. That would be a great nut-free alternative, and using the chocolate will kind of help cover up any sort of sunflower seed taste. So it'll be just like brownies, but totally nut-free and flourless. All right, so I'm going to give you guys a little close-up view. I mean, look how yummy these are, right? Like, they're just super fudgy. And again, you can see I used crunchy almond butter, so you can see the little nuts in there and get some good texture. So I hope you guys really enjoy whipping these up. Give them a try. They're in my cookbook, Paleo Sweets, available now. I'll add a link in the comments for you to check that out. And let me know what you think. Enjoy it, and I'll see you guys next time, all right?